up, tribe? How you guys doing? We are back for another retro review, y'all. Falcon Crest season 2, episode 7. So listen, Melissa is still pregnant, child. I don't know, this is the longest pregnancy I've ever seen in my life. Because when we came back at the beginning of the season, she was already big as a house. I thought she was ready to drop, but she not. We still getting ready for the baby. Lance is still doing what he's doing. He's still seeing Catherine. No, Catherine Demery. That's Cole's girlfriend. He's still seeing Lori. He's still seeing Lori. And listen, he done got real bold, y'all. He got Lori coming down the Falcon Crest so they can go riding. I said, you a bold mother, shut your mouth. So, yeah, I know Melissa's sneaky ass. Melissa done, she snuck down into Angela's study looking for what she could find. And she done found Angela's will. Now, listen. I ain't crazy enough to think that Angela Channing done left her real will sitting in her drawer. Ain't no lock, ain't no key, ain't no safe, ain't no nothing. So that must be a draft. That must be extra wills that she leave laying around just so people don't know what's really in her will. But neither here nor there. Angela caught Melissa up in there going through her stuff. Melissa tried to be slick and was like, I was just looking for some stationery. Angela was like, why you ain't ask Sean Lee? That's what he do. That's his job. Why you going through my shit? But Melissa sort of played it off. Both of them knew they was lying to each other. But on her way out the door, baby, Melissa let Angela know that Lance was bringing his boo thing down to Falcon Crest. Okay? The other thing Melissa found out was that Angela and Philip are more than just client attorney. Found a love letter from Philip talking about something. I enjoyed dinner and I love you. But that's okay, because like I said, Angela threw that little gem onto Melissa on her way out onto Angela on her way out the door. And Angela called down to the stables and was like, is my grandson down there? And they was like, no. She said, let me know as soon as he get his ass down to that stable, okay? Now while that was going on, Richard Channing, little sneaky ass, he's trying to buy up land. And of course there is no available land in Falcon Crest. All the land is accounted for. That's the whole deal with Angela and Melissa trying to get the vineyards and all that stuff. But he has to buy up some public land, and they find out that the land was originally supposed to be set aside for a public park, but Richard wants to buy it, and he said that he can build. His little sidekick told him, listen, it would take years for you to be able to turn this into like a winery that will make any money. He was like, that's not my goal. My goal is to plant the best grapes and start a bidding war, and that will put Falcon Crest out of business. Now, that sounds like a very oversimplistic plan to me, but if it made sense to Richard, I guess it's going to make sense to me right now, okay? She tells him, listen, you got to get the board of, the board to agree. And he said, well, Angela already has 2 of the members in her back pocket. All I need is 1 more, because, to get my majority. And he said, so Hogan is the 5th one. Is the oddball. They know they ain't gonna get chased, child. But they said we can get Hogan, we're good to go. He was like, I just gotta get Angela on my side, and then I get Hogan, I'm good. And she was like, well, you sure? She said, I tried to talk to Hogan. I don't know. He ain't really down for it. He was like, I got it. You let me talk to him. Now, while all of this is going on, down to Maggie and Chase's house, child, Maggie is still working on this script. Okay, now the script ain't done yet, but y'all hold on. It's gonna be some stuff with this script. When she gets it done, it's gonna be some stuff with it. So y'all hold on to the script, okay? But she still is not happy about Cole living down with Catherine Demery. So the lawyer comes by. He needs to talk to Cole. So they go down there to talk to Cole, and Cole is with Catherine. Poor Catherine. You know how you've been dismissed, but nobody's gonna actually say the words you are dismissed, but they give you that look like you can leave now. You know that? That's kind of what they did to Catherine. It was Maggie, it was Chase, it was the lawyer, it was Cole and Catherine. And they were all looking at her like, you're going to let us talk in private? So it was awkward, but, she had to roll out, so they could talk in private. And they were telling Cole, listen, okay, we know that they're going to pull out all the dirt on you. They're going to find everything that they can find on you. But, something that's really not gonna work in your favor is you living shacking up with this woman and her 12-year-old son. Like, that's just not gonna look good. Like, juries don't like to see that messiness, even though it don't have nothing to do with you murdering or not murdering that man. They just don't like to see all of this messiness. And he was like, well, what Catherine got to do with it? And they were like, listen, I'm just telling you, juries don't want to hear and see it. They're gonna play it up. They're gonna make it, they're gonna turn it into something it's not. Like, it's probably really a good idea for you to move back home. And of course, Cole wasn't trying to hear it. He wasn't trying to do it, but they were like, listen, just think about it, because for real, that's what we kind of really need you to do. Now, down to the Falcon Crest, Richard is trying to convince Angela to let him get this land. And the way he does it, he says, listen, I'm going to take this land and I'm going to turn it into a memorial for my dad, aka your husband or ex-husband. And Angela was like, I guess that could be a good idea. But she really still don't really trust Richard, and she feels like or knows that it's something more to this story. It's something more going on. You know what I'm saying? But she really does want, she likes the idea of a memorial park, because he was like, he said, we don't want to do a boring statue. Let's open up a park and name it after him. And it's something that people will, it's a living, breathing memorial to him. And Angela was like, So she takes it to so Chase just happens to be around, and she takes it to Chase, and Chase is like, yeah, nah, we ain't doing that. We already got that land set aside. We about to build a public park. And Richard was like, okay, well, if you was gonna make a park, let's make it a park. Let me get that land, I'll make it a park. Then that way the taxpayers don't have to pay no money. And Chase was like, yeah, nah, we're not doing that. And Richard was like, well, with or without you, I can get this done. And Chase was like, you are smearing my son every chance you get, all up and down your damn newspaper. But yet now now you need something from me. Like, that's what this is hitting for. And Richard was like, okay, well, like I said before, I don't really need you. It would be nice to have you, but let's be clear, I don't really need you for this. So Chase was like, well, listen, you do what you gotta do, I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Boom, peace. And he said, and you need another member of the board, and you ain't gonna get it. And Richard was like, all right then, we'll see. So next thing you know, Richard done went down to go visit what was his name? I think his name is Hogan or Howe, the other member of the board. Richard went to go visit him. He down there polishing up his his vintage Ford pickup truck. Looked like probably 1940 something. I don't know years, child. I don't know, but it's just old, okay? And Richard rose up in his Rolls Royce, and he talking to him all nice and stuff at first. And dude was like, listen, you can save your breath. I already knew you was coming. Chase called me. You're not getting my vote. I don't like the way you doing Chase's son. And that's where my loyalty is. And Richard was like, for real? Like, you sure that I can't convince you? He was like, listen, there's nothing for us to talk about. There is nothing. You can't convince me of nothing, okay? Just be clear and understand. My loyalty is with Chase. Richard was like, all right then. Well, if you change your mind, let me know. He was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Now, down to the stables, honey. Angela got that phone call. And she done went down to the stables. And listen, Lance done got real bold, okay? Lance is down at the stables with Lori. And when Angela rolls up, he tells Lori, he said, look, you go ahead. I haven't talked to grandmother. He told his grandmother, he said, look, let me explain something to you. You told me that if I married Melissa, I could love whoever I wanted to love. Well, guess what? I love Lori, and it is what it is. Now, in Lance's mind, he good to go. Because he's like, as soon as this baby get here, I'm going to get a paternity test. And once we prove that that baby is not mine, grandmother going to be cool with the divorce. Lori, me and you going to be good to go, and we're going to get married. I did what she wanted me to do. Right? I did what she wanted me to do. It didn't work out. And at this point, she about to get the vineyards, because the whole point of them getting married was to get those vineyards. And we know that Melissa's in financial trouble, and she really don't have the money to take care of the vineyards like she needs to. And so Angela feels like it's only a matter of time. She don't really want to bombard her right now because she's still pregnant. And you remember she's supposed to be on bed rest and everything because she had that little scare last episode. And so Angela is really kind of chilling. But Lance is like, listen, everybody about to get what they want, and I'm going to be in the free and clear. He also told Miss Melissa that he was going to get him a paternity test too. And baby, Melissa was a little bit afraid because we know that that baby ain't, we know that baby ain't hers, you know. And Lance know it too. You know, Lance keep trying to tell them people that that baby ain't his, but ain't nobody really trying to hear that, you know. So, it's a big old storm a coming, honey. It's a big old storm a coming. We see that Cole and his boo thing are, you know, they setting the fire, getting ready for the storm to come through. The little boy come through there and was like, listen, are you going to jail? And Cole was like, nah, what you talking about? He was like, well, that's what the kids at school said. The kids at school said you a murderer and that you going to jail. And Cole was like, well, no, I'm not going to jail. Like, do you want me to talk to them? He was like, that ain't gonna do no good because everybody say you a murderer. And he rolls out. I said, damn. Back up to the house, honey. Lance is packing himself a bag. Lance is letting Melissa know that not only did he bring his boo thing down to Falcon Crest, but he about to go stay with her tonight at whatever hotel he done got her a room at, okay? They are, like, he is really doing his own thing. He ain't playing with Melissa. And once again, they have a fight, and he once again reminds Melissa that we are having a paternity test, okay? When that baby get here, she was like, Lance, are you sure? Are you serious about having a paternity test? Lance was like, yeah. And finally, Melissa, who I think up until this point thought she had it all figured out and thought she was really in control of something, finally, I think Melissa realizes that she don't really have all the answers that she thought she had. And she started to get a little nervous. Okay? Maggie is still upset about the whole Cole situation. She don't know what to do with herself. Listen. I don't know what y'all did as parents, because y'all got two of the most ungrateful kids I have ever seen in my life, child. I don't know what, who, when, where, or how. Okay, I really don't. But y'all, listen, it's a lot. Okay, it is a whole lot of ungratefulness going on. But, child, Cole ain't trying to come home no time soon. Okay. Now this storm is coming. Okay, the storm is a brewing. And Melissa done decided that this is a good time for her to go find Cole. Okay, it's gotta be, it's late at night, it's dark outside, you know, it's dark. And Cole and the boo thing are in bed. And Melissa come knocking at the door in the middle of the damn night. So they open up the door and it's Melissa. And you know, girlfriend is looking like, what? Why is she at my front door? And wait a minute, did I miss something? Hold on, I think I missed something. Hold on, let me rewind. I did miss something. Well, listen, we'll tell it. It don't matter. So she's talking to Cole, and she's like, you know, Lance is being so mean to me. I don't know what to do. And then and I guess that don't work. You know, Cole was like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, you married him. So then she says, okay, you know what? That's not working. Okay, let me tell you. She said, Cole, listen, I never slept with nobody else. Okay, me and you was in love once. You don't care about me no more. And he was like, not since you married another man. And she was like, but I never slept with anybody else, Cole. You're the father. And then, of course, she immediately goes into labor, child. So they got to call an ambulance, take her to the hospital. Angela down to the hospital. The baby was born premature, but, you know, they worried about the baby surviving because he's so early. Melissa is okay. They call Lance and tell Lance to get his ass down to the hospital. And, of course, he come running through. And just as Cole is leaving the hospital, he walking into the hospital talking about something, you had a boy. And Lance was like, shit, man. So Cole goes home. He gets back to Catherine's house, and she still got the lights on, so he know she waiting up for him. And baby, he just can't handle it. Like, he just got dropped. Even though he suspected that baby was his, I guess, you know, Melissa was adamant about that it wasn't, and, you know, she was married to Lance, and he really was just trying to move on, and he just can't handle it, so he ends up going home, child. I said, and look at this boy done end up going home, child. Now, when your mama wanted you to come home, you couldn't come home, but now you got this heavy burden up on you, and you don't know what to do with yourself. So Lance talks to Melissa. Melissa gonna say, are you still getting that paternity test? Because the baby here now, he talking about something, well, let's not talk about that now. We can talk about that later. Girl, the answer is yes. He's still gonna get that paternity test, child. The rules ain't the goal ain't changed just because you didn't have the baby premature. I mean, he gonna have to wait a little while because his grandmother told him, listen, if you want to secure your place in Falcon Crest, let me tell you what you won't do. You gonna make sure that that baby pulls through and that baby lives. Everything else, throw that shit to the side. So while all this is going on, child, now miraculously the storm is over, child. It's not raining no more. But Hal gets a phone call that some kids are shooting pellets at his store or whatever. He need to get down to his store. He gets down to the store and there's nothing going on. He's looking around. He's like, ain't nothing wrong with my store. He gets another phone call. Guy on the phone is like, hey, glad you can make it. He was like, dude, like, you done got me out of my bed. It's the same guy. He's like, you done got me out of my bed in the middle of the night. Like, what is really going on? And he was like, well, Hogan, that's his name, Hogan. He said, well, the next time, basically, next time, what did he say? He threw a threat at him. And then he was like, you okay? He was like, yeah, I'm fine. The store's fine. He was like, good thing you're not in your truck. And next thing you know, that vintage truck that he was waxing up on while Richard was trying to talk to him, baby, that truck blows up. And of course, it, does a little bit of damage to the front of the store and everything too. And the next morning, he's cleaning up. The police done come through. And here come Richard rolling up in a vintage Rolls Royce. Like, I'm sure this shit was worth, I mean, in 1982 money, probably $500,000, okay? And Richard was like, it's a shame, I heard you had some trouble, And he was like, he giving Richard that look. Because at first, I don't think he put two and two together. But then Richard was like, could have been worse. And he was like, what you say? He was like, listen. And the guy was like, and Hogan was like, yeah, the insurance didn't even really cover all of this. He was like, wow. He said, well, I'd be willing to give you this car. I'd be willing to go on and sell this to you. Let's go for a ride. I said, you about to be sold for a damn car. Ain't that some sugar nitty? So Chase ends up getting a phone call letting them know that there was an explosion down the Hogan's spot. And they go, they go running down there. Well, Victoria hears the name, honey, and Victoria was like, oh, I want to go. And I had not put two and two together, y'all. That is the dude, the dude that she was running with, that bought the shoes for, that she was all pressed to be with. I said, Victoria, you sure do like them old men. And now he a friend of your daddy's? Girl, that's messy as hell. But she goes down there and but they didn't hide nothing. They were like, yeah, we've gone running a couple of times. And of course, he was trying to downplay it. And Vicky not even smart enough to understand that it's probably not the smartest thing in the world for you to let your daddy know that me and you been hanging out like that. Like, that's probably not cool. But he was like, yeah, I didn't make the connection that this is your daughter. And he was like, I didn't make the connection, now, well, you all made the connection now. Now what you gonna do? Because Victoria clearly got a little crush on you, okay? In the meantime, Cole is back to being his little nasty self. He came down to have coffee and they started asking him questions, but not even like bad questions. It was like, welcome home, are you having a good morning type questions. He was like, maybe I should have slept in this morning, and rolled out. And Chase tried to let Maggie know, listen, he must have something on his mind, and when he ready to talk to us about it, he will. So the baby has a fever. Chase and Maggie, not Chase and Maggie, Lord, neither one of them. Lance was on his way up to San Francisco. His grandmother told him, she said, let me explain something to you. She said, you will not leave Falcon Crest, for the exception of going to the hospital, until that baby is home. All that running back and forth to San Francisco is what you won't do. Okay? Then we get to the board meeting, right? And they getting ready to vote on this land acquisition situation for Richard Channing. And Chase was like, well, hold up. We ain't even had no conversation. Like, what we doing? And they were like, it's too late. It's already a motion on the floor. So, so Chase sort of felt like he got the vote. So he ain't really tripping too hard until it get around to Hogan. Baby, Hogan votes for selling that land to Richard. And um Chase knows something is up. He don't know what happened, but he knows something is up. And he is pissed. And he thinks that Hogan's car getting blown up is connected to Richard and connected to all of a sudden his mind. Oh, all of a sudden Hogan changing his mind, baby. He is not happy about it at all. Cole makes his way down to Captain Demery's place and breaks up with her. And she is just being real melodramatic. Is it me? Was it my fault? Was it something I said? I tried to do everything right and say everything right. I'm so sorry. I was like, girl, you doing a whole lot. Like, y'all ain't been together like that. Like, girl, if you don't calm down. But he told her, he said, look, it's not you, it's me. Now, he ain't tell her that baby his. He ain't go that far. But he was like, I just got to get this. I got this, I'm this murder situation. Because they keep acting like he ain't about to be on trial for murder. Like, why y'all acting like it's a traffic ticket? I don't understand it. So then Cole goes back to down to the vineyard talking about some you got a job for me. You had a job before you left to go moving with Catherine Demery. What is you talking about? Of course they got a job for you, but they happy for him to be back. They laughing and cheering and everything, happy that he back. I said, it's just that easy around here, huh? Anyway, child. Anyway, that was the episode. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in them comments. Peace. What's up, tribe? Oh, okay. Did it go? What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. This is a retro review. I know it's been a long time, y'all, but this is a retro review for Falcon Crest, Season 3, Episode 8. So, we start this episode off. We got Julia up to the jailhouse. Now, I'm going to just go ahead and knock Julia out the way because I'm sick of her. I never liked this storyline. I thought it was stupid. In any other soap opera, people go to jail and they get them out like 2-3 months later. They could have found some sort of technicality and they could have got Julia out of jail without totally ruining this storyline. Then again, we never really did have much use for Julia. I mean, let's be real. She was a drunk that was in love with a man who couldn't stand up to her mama. Like, I guess it don't matter. Anyway, Julia is up in the jail, and of course she being bullied. She being treated like the little rich girl. The guard, of course, don't like her because her family worked for Angela Channing at Falcon Crest, so she got a vendetta against Falcon Crest, and she ain't gonna do nothing while she see Julia getting beat up. So Julia go to her mama and tells her mama, listen, you gonna have to do something about this because they treating me real bad. Now, if you had listened to your mama from the beginning, you wouldn't be in this predicament because your mama told you to shut up and she had it covered, but you didn't listen. You let Richard Channing convince you and Melissa convince you that it was in your best interest to just plead guilty and get on death row, and then you didn't get the death penalty, and now you sitting in jail looking crazy. Anyway, and of course Angela did what Angela does. She paid the guard off, and she got Julia protection now. But the problem is, I don't think the guard is giving Julia as much protection as Julia thinks she is. Because she keep giving Julia alcohol, which of course we know Julia's a drunk, so she love the alcohol. But one, is putting a target on her back because the other inmates see that now all of a sudden she's getting special treatment. And two, her being drunk ain't a good idea. It's just not a good look, and it ain't a good idea. So that's a whole situation that's getting ready to turn into a worse situation down to the jailhouse for Julia. Now, while this is going on, Chase and Maggie are figuring out ways to spend their newfound wealth, right? They got all this money that was inherited to them from Jacqueline, and Chase trying to buy a plane, Maggie buying, vintage cars for Chase that she had to chase down from collectors. And I said, listen, I ain't even mad at you because if it was me and I got rich and I was in my 40s, I think they supposed to be like in their 40s. Because their kids are in their 20s. So I feel like they're supposed to be like in their mid to late 40s. But if I all of a sudden woke up one day and I was rich, and I was in my 40s and my kids was grown and I had a viable business, I'd probably be spending all my money up too. I ain't lying. I'd be out here. I'd be wilding too. But anyway, now we see Michael with Angela, down to the hospital. And Angela is trying to, pick Michael's brain about what's going on at the hospital and how long he gonna stay and what, why, trying to figure out why Jacqueline left him the house and did all the things that Jacqueline did. Y'all know Angela, child. Now down to the newspaper, Melissa is still seducing Richard, and she still got Richard, or she still thinks that Richard believes that this baby she carrying is his baby. And we all know that Richard don't believe it's his baby because he said he done had a vasectomy. So whatever game Melissa's playing, he just going along with it just to see how far she gonna take it and where this lie is going. But she is trying to convince Richard that it is time for her to leave Lance and move in with him. And of course, Richard is like, it ain't time yet. We still try to figure everything out. We not ready for that yet. I need you to stay at Falcon Crest just a little bit longer. And of course, Melissa does what Melissa does because she's a brat. So she throws a tantrum. But ultimately, she lets Richard talk her into staying at Falcon Crest a little bit longer, child. Now, while this is going on, Michael is still down at the hospital trying to figure out what happened with Chase's case. And of course, the doctor that's in cahoots with Angela, he is not here for it. And he is like, listen, I'm going to really need you to back up. I'm going to really need you to back up off of me and stop trying to figure out what happened and stop questioning everything that I did and what I did not do. Okay? Now, while this is going on, I'm sorry, Chase bought Maggie the car. Maggie bought Chase the plane. It don't matter. They bought each other very expensive gifts. Okay? Now, while this is going on, guess who shows up at the doorstep? Now, Maggie's sister, who was engaged to marry an 80-year-old man just for the money, found out that her sister didn't hit it big and got some money. So she ends up leaving him high and dry after he done left his wife thinking he was going to ride off into the sunset with this young tenderoni. And she done left him and she done decided she was going to go move in with Maggie, talking about, yeah, this is the good life right here. I said, oh boy. She's got some stuff up her sleeves. It's gonna be a problem. That ain't gonna work out the way you think it's gonna work out. But anyway, so now what my boy name? What's that son? The son name, child. Anyway, the son, Maggie and Chase's son. I remember his name in a second, child. He done ran off and got married, so he living his best life. They all in love, they lovey-dovey or whatever. We'll get back to them, but whatever, she's the love of his life, child. You know how that go. Now, Maggie is still doing an investigation of the racetrack. Remember, they sent her down there, basically, they were just trying to, have her do like a little, basically busy work going down to the racetrack. But she finally found somebody that would talk to her, an old black guy who wanted to be a jockey, but he's been taking care of the horses. Now she wants to write a story on him as sort of like a human interest story. But what comes up as she's doing her research, first of all, the editor ain't really trying to do it. He was like, listen, this story is trite, it is whatever, it don't have whatever, and no, I'm not printing it. And Maggie is like, listen, you just got a problem with me. And don't be mad at me because I got my job the old-fashioned way, through family. I am a good writer. I'm a skilled writer, so stop playing with me. But what she finds out in her research, as she's doing her research, what she finds out is that the doctor down to the hospital that almost killed Chase, he got a whole racing horse. And they want to figure out, well, how can he afford a racing horse on his, yeah, he a doctor and he make good money, but his expenses far exceed his income, okay? And now they starting to connect the dots, right? Well, Angela realizes that things are getting a little too close for comfort, right? And she ends up blackmailing the doctor down to the hospital and basically tell him, listen, that money that I gave you for the new wing to the hospital, either you drop this investigation into the doctor or I'm going to have to withdraw my money. So He tells her she can take her money and shove it. But of course, the board comes back and says, listen, you better take that money and you need to drop that investigation. So he ends up resigning. He was like, listen, I ain't cut out for this politics. I'm here for the people. I'm here for the good of the people. And, you know, if the board want to play these games, then they can play these games without me. But then they end up saying that Michael needs to take his place. And I'm thinking, hell, Michael playing less politics than he is. Why would they think Michael would be a good person to replace him as chief? I'm like, don't even make no sense. But okay, child. I mean, if that's what y'all gonna do, whatever. Now Maggie and Chase try to go down to the bakery and make nice with why I can't think of that boy name. The son's new wife's daddy, because you know he ain't here for it. He ain't no. I'm gonna remember it, child. Anyway, he not here for it. You know, he's like, listen, I never wanted your son to marry my daughter, and as far as I'm concerned, you know, until as long as they still together, because he was, you know, Chase was like, well, we family now. He was like, y'all ain't my family. Y'all can get up out of my bakery. Y'all are not my family. You know, and do what you do. Like, you know, do what you do. But anyway, child, what else happened this episode? I don't. Oh, the doctor. They're starting to realize that Melissa ain't coming home, and you know, Angela asked Lance, like, do you really believe that, you know, she's taking classes at night? And he was like, no, but she believes that I believe it. Like, I'm not stupid. I know she got something going on that, you know, ain't on the up and up. But, you know, in the meantime and in between time, I'm going to play my position until I can figure out what she really got going on. And Angela was like, okay, I didn't raise a fool. Because, you know, Angela, I think, was a little worried about Lance. Like, okay, you really think, bruh, like, you really think that's what's going on here? But she was like, okay, I'm glad you see it for what it is. I'm glad you understand what they have going on, okay? Now, that's pretty much all that happened in this episode. Anyway, going into the new year, I'm gonna try to get more regular with these. I know some of y'all really like, you know, my Falcon Crest reviews, so I'm gonna try to get more regular. Let me know what y'all think. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.